Stu here with Raid Shadow Legends in a video on Whisper. This is just a first impressions video to see how she is. I've only run her one solid run. That's it. I just took her to 60. I just put gear on her and I've only run her one time. And I think that a lot of you need to be aware that any kind of videos you see with a Whisper are going to have relentless gear on her. You're going to have to bring in, there's a couple caveats with her, right? You want relentless gear because she's going to take extra turns, which are going to reset Relentless's diminishing returns and give you additional turns. That's like anybody, row bar videos that you've seen, anything that you've seen with Lord Shazar, Turvold, all the same thing. So right away when we saw her, we knew, hey, Relentless gear will work really well on her. Also for her A2, you need to have a weaken up so she can ignore defense to hit really hard. As anybody like Faceless and Blood Gorged, anybody else ignoring defense, what do we have? Royal Huntsman, they hit very hard. They hit really, really hard. Now, I haven't noticed her hitting harder than those guys. Not at all. And also, we need to have decreased defense for her A3. Decreased defense and weakened up at the same time to give her an extra turn. Is that mandatory? No, it's not mandatory. But most of the videos you're going to see, and the best way to run her, especially in Arena, would be with a Venus or a Draco. Preferably a Venus, a Draco. You could try to use Spider, but Spider doesn't always apply the weaken, and it is the lower version of the weaken. So there is some setup that kind of needs to be done with her. You could just roll with the weaken alone, that's fine. I don't feel that she's going to be really useful for anybody in the game at in-game, depending on what you have. And as far as coming up on your account, a new count to a mid count and everything else, we're going to test that out throughout the week. I'm going to definitely run her through everything in the game. Let's look at what mine has. I'm going to run her through everything in the game. We're going to run through Spiders 20 in a minute and then do a little arena just to see how hard we can hit people. Right now on her, I have 44k HP, 3000 attack, 100% crit, 241 critical damage, 202 accuracy, and we're in Relentless Artifact. So we have an 18% chance to take an additional turn, and then we've got a little bit of accuracy. And that's it. For the most part here, I have just attack on here with speed, critical damage, I've got HP, speed boots, and then the rest of it is the normal stuff where we've got 23 crit here, 24 crit here, and then we've got some attack and HP. Now, it's not necessarily good to have really high HP with her. I like it for survivability reasons for when we're running through dungeons. But it does say on her skill 2 that if they have higher max HP than her, when she attacks, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for one turn before attacking if the target has higher max HP. Will ignore defense if the target has a weaken up. So you want to get that weaken up, of course. She does apply a weaken. If you want to do a weaken first with her, it'd be really hard to play the game then. You're going to play it on auto. On auto, she does do her A3 first, then she does her A2, and then she goes to do her A1, her normal ability, basic ability. So the A2 with a decreased defense and weaken up, you do get an extra turn if you have both up. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. You can always still proc an additional turn. Has a 10% chance to grant an extra turn whenever this player lands a critical hit. Increased damage inflicted to the bosses by 20%. So let's see what she can do. Let's run her through. Also on masteries, all I did is I went down here for critical damage. We've got additional damage for our first hit we do. We're doing more damage to targets with higher max HP. Crit rate, more damage if they have shields on. If we do a big hit, 30% of their HP, we have a chance, 30% chance to decrease the cooldown. And then 20% additional critical damage. Here I went for retribution to critical to counterattack, and then deterrence, so that we can counterattack if anybody gets stunned, slept, or frozen. Normal, this is kind of like a normal PvP thing. Sometimes you come down here. Not really any reason why I needed it, but just in case. Just in case I want to play her somewhere else, we have it in here. So we're going to run Dragons first. Again, this is just a first impressions. A very, very first impressions of her. Again, I don't feel like she's going to be that great for anybody early to mid-game. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run her through everything from beginning to end. I'm going to take off Relentless gear on her as well. With Relentless gear, I'm going to run her in Ice Golem. We're going to run her in Fire Knight, Spiders, anywhere else we can run her. Probably not Spiders, probably Ice Golems, Fire Knight, Dragons, and Clan Boss, and in PvP. We'll try her out there in all those places. Then I'll remove Relentless gear, and we'll try her without Relentless gear, see how well she does. And we'll try her with just a setup with just Weaken, because bringing in Weaken and decreased defense, like I said, if you don't have a Draco or a Venus or using Spider, it's pretty hard. It is pretty. She's got a lot of setup for that. But as long as we get a weaken, we get the ignore defense A2, which is what we really want. That's the really big hit. A 3 hits moderately hard. It's 2 attacks, and if any one of those crit, she gets to take another turn, of course. Well, if we hit that 10% chance, she gets to take another turn on any crit from the passive, so we get 2 attacks there. I don't know. We'll see. Let's play it out. Let's do our first impressions and see how it is. We'll talk about it as the run unfolds. Let's talk about what we see here. So right away, Madam Serious, her AI is letting us down because we're not getting the decreased defense up right away. Now we're getting both up. So let's see what she hits for. She's going to be on her A2 now where it's going to ignore defense. 78k. To me, 78k on waves like this isn't a lot when you've got a decreased defense and a weaken up. So we had a decreased defense and a weaken. That means there's 60% lower defense plus 25% additional damage. Not really a lot to me. That isn't huge. And that by no means, that's not a reason to, that kind of damage is not a reason to play somebody in this type of a game either. At stage 20, this far in late game. It's not worth it when you've got all this set up. You've got decreased defense. We've got a weaken up. Sure, she might be the only champion. Ignore damage again. Yeah, we get a big hit on ignore damage. Anybody can do a big hit on ignore damage, and we don't have to do the setup. If I do this if I do the ignore defense with Royal Huntsman, if I do it with Faceless, and I have a weaken up for additional 25% damage, probably going to hit harder. My guys are probably going to hit harder. We will test that throughout the week. Don't worry. And then at bosses, what do they bring to the boss? Usually it's not as much as somebody like Royal Guard, of course. We ignore defense for 100. We're doing a lot of attacks right now. The first hit, we don't have a decreased defense, so those other hits where we didn't ignore defense were pretty weak. Of course they're going to be. Extra turn. We got a weaken up. Okay, I really wish we had a decreased defense up right now with all these additional hits. Now remember, this is because of her passive and because of Relentless Gear. Not just from her passive. This is a big play on Relentless Gear and resetting the diminishing returns on Relentless. So 57 on her A1. 57k, that's respectable. I mean, it's good damage, but again, we've got a decreased defense and a weaken up. Other people can hit just as hard on their A1s, no problem, with this setup. Let's see what our A3 hits for. It's going to hit twice. We'll see what it hits for. It's probably not going to hit. It's probably going to hit for like 50k each. Ignore damage. The ignore defense one. The ignore defense for 125. That's good. But we can do that with other people. We can. So only 30 and 28. We took another turn, and then 32. So no doubt she is an extra turn machine, because anybody with the chance to take an additional turn can reset that and play off of the Relentless Gear, which is really good. Does that mean that you should rush out and try to force and use her in any kind of set? I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it. I really don't think it's worth it. We're just getting the kind of damage. We're getting the kind of damage that you can get out of a lot of people. And it will have a lot more either survivability. They'll be able to support us a lot more. Maybe they've got debuffs themselves besides just the weaken that she does. So there are champions out there. It could be a defense-based champion putting out. I could bring Altan in here and put out these kind of numbers as well. Maybe not the ignore defense one, but we can put out some serious numbers. With a decreased defense up and a weaken up, we can put out some insane numbers. It wouldn't be a problem. So that's it. I mean, those are kind of my first impressions. Let's go over to Arena and see what we have in Arena. Hit somebody really hard, which we're going to because I'm in lower Arena anyways for my videos, for my rare runs, to make sure that we don't have a crazy high Arena to offset everything I'm going to be doing with my rares, so people don't say, hey, Stu, you're in Platinum. You've got such a huge advantage there that makes your rares look good. And it's better to do anyways. I think it's better to test things out as low as possible, as low as we can. So these teams aren't going to be that hard. This one is actually not even a fast team, so we'll throw in here. We'll get an increased attack up. Really for weekend, that's pretty much all I have for a weekend. I don't have anything to play off for a weekend, and that's it. We're just going to have to bring these in here with Whisper. Where are you? Yeah, we're just going to have to bring these guys in here so I can get a weekend up. We'll get an increased attack. We'll get our weekends up, and we'll remove whatever they have. Decrease defense. And here we go. Now let's see if she's fast enough to even go before all these guys. Looks like she is. Because we didn't get a turn meter boost. So we can go in now. We can go in for the ignore defense. Or we could try to pop them twice and grant an extra turn. We'll grant the extra turn. We'll hit them twice because no matter what, we don't have to kill them. We'll still get an extra turn no matter what we do. We've got share damage up, so half the damage is going to go over here to our Skull Crusher. That's not too good. Let's go ahead and try to hit Ignatius here. He should be pretty tanky. Now remember, half that damage went over, so it would have been like 30 each, 60,000 total to him. Now keep in mind, I'm using people that are platinum. Like I can get to platinum 1, 2, and 3, right? I can get to the top 10 easy in platinum, no problem. Top 10, and we're fighting against people in gold 3. So they're not going to have the kind of gear I have. So I'm definitely going to hit harder, but this is ignore defense. So it's going to hit hard. If I bring Faceless in, if I bring anybody else that ignores defense, it's going to hit just as hard. Let's see what we get here. So it would have been 90 to 100,000. It would have been 100,000 on there. So a lot of setup to try to get extra turns. Like we're fishing for extra turns. With Relentless Gear in her passive, we're basically just fishing for give us additional turns. Let us go crazy, extra turn. Let us get crazy with more extra turns. And we didn't get it. So whenever we crit, we get a chance to take an extra turn, and then we have Relentless Gear on, so that's going to give us a chance every time she takes another turn. Okay, that's all I've got. That was my first impressions of Whisper. Again, I just wanted to get a video out because I just took her to 60. I did 5 hours of streaming this morning. A lot of people asked me about Whisper. How is she? I've seen her in videos. Maybe you have seen her in videos. Maybe you've seen her in gear just like I showed you, where it's somebody who normally runs Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss and is now hitting a lower Clan Boss, or even hitting Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. If she's doing 9 million in Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, defense champions can do the same thing. Altan, Rosin, those guys can bring in 8 to 9 million. So do I think that she's hitting hard then? Yeah, she's hitting hard, no problem. Of course, we need a lucky string of additional hits. We need to make sure you have Relentless Gear on. We need to make sure you have good Relentless Gear on, and we need the setup still to be able to take advantage of that, right? We always need the decrease defense, decrease weaken, which of course we'll probably always have anyways for our people to do the most they can do with their damage. So we'll just see how it plays out. I will, again, run her through all the dungeons in the game. I'll run her through Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. I will take Relentless Gear off of her, run her with regular gear, and see how she works out with lower weakens, with lower decreased defense, if we can use some rares to do it with, just to see how it works, right? Just so we can get a really good idea of how she is. But right now, even with you seeing all those other videos, I would not rush out and try to level her and waste books, waste resources, especially if you're early mid game. If you're late game and you got all those extra resources and you just want to play around, that's fine. Other than that, I really would not waste your resources on her. You're much better off, especially for Clan Boss, to go with a defense-based champion right now until I can really get into some testing. But even still, from what I can see and what I've seen on all those other videos, I really don't think she's viable for like 95% of the people out there. I really don't. That's all I've got, guys. Please leave me your comments below on everything I just said. That way I can get your input. Maybe you know something I don't, and we can discuss it in the comments below. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys on a video soon.